Thank you. Please sit. Thank you very much. Okay. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me. You know, something funny happened yesterday when I came in and went to the hotel, and I told the receptionist, okay, Semba made a booking, and she was like, okay. So I'm like, where are the people I came to see? I now spelled the name for her. I said, this is my time in Benue. I was born here. I was born in the then General Hospital, Federal Medical Center now. Lived here for so long. And I'm like, this is so bad. I should know how to pronounce every Tiv name. And you know, in this world where you communicate a lot other than by speech or calling each other's names, as it were, you just assume you know. So that was my first wake-up call yesterday, that I had to learn something new. So now, Sembe, right? I've gotten that one. So I'm going to speak very briefly today on leadership and development. I've got slide here. Yeah, okay, that should serve. You know, I just did that to guide me as a talking point. It's a subject I am quite passionate about and conversant with, but this will guide us and help make sure that I'm able to keep to what we must do. But before I do that, I must say big congratulations to you on this summit conference. I know it's your first as an academy, and as one who has pioneered and organized events for many years, I can tell you that I should be congratulating you. So even some of the difficulties you must have faced is part of how you learn and how you perfect the art. So I would like for us to quickly just give Sembe and her team a big round of applause. You would be amazed how things grow and how things, continue to expand and be a blessing. And I believe that's what will happen. So why am I speaking about leadership and empowerment, and why am I passionate about it? Because a great man said that the richest place in the world is the grave where people die with their potentials. And we live in a world where this conversation has become necessary. And before I go on, my dear friend is with me, Reverend Jed, is right in this city doing great stuff. Please clap for Reverend Jed. And, the point at which I even remember that I've not greeted my Oga is we have had some conversation before about local and global. And this conversation is necessary when we begin to have such conversations. One of the things I have learned to do while not living by comparison, which will hurt you, because everybody's journey is different, is to be able to also look at some people and take motivation. Because sometimes the reason why we are as excused as we are is because we are not looking at people who can inspire us to be better than we are. You get what I mean? So when we begin to have leadership conversation, I'll run you through a few things that are not necessarily conventional leadership conversations, but which points to the things that I believe constitutes the foundation of the problem we have today. So let's slide on. Let's slide on and take it on. Now that's not going to work. All right? So in today's highly distracted world, well, I'll try not to read. I'll just try to note the things. Now, the first thing I want to note is that we live in the most distracted generation ever. Ever. Our children have devices that we release to them, in ways that you would think were wicked parents. And we have realized how much attention, all right, the devices get of them. I'm not talking about phones now. I'm talking about some devices that are necessary for, age appropriate for them, like Amazon Fire and blah and blah. But I've had to ask some university students, how do you cope? Because if I had a phone with WhatsApp, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, in my generation in class, I wonder how I would have done school. Very distracted generation. See, a lot of times, even adults cannot defend the number of subscriptions they pay. You are paying cable subscription. You bought a smart TV. You need internet subscription to operate the smart TV. Then God bless you, you live in Nigeria, you have your own power supply. So you need a generator. The subsidy has been removed. You need fuel at very expensive amounts. That is why some people are broke. Because they have not questioned the things that entertain them that they call, entertainment, but are distractions. So they are paying for everything, paying and paying and paying. This is the most distracted generation there is. So when we talk about leadership, the conversation actually begins from personal leadership. Because until you are able to lead you have already failed the world. And that's the problem of today. So you see people, I heard an interview that shocked me. The CEO of Apple, iPhone, and Apple, has great rules on limiting the use of devices in his house for his family and his children. So he left all of us with a distraction and went to his house and made sense. In that interview, he said that these devices were not made to replace human interaction. He was joking. Because the marketing actually pushes it. And that's why the world is where it is today. I don't know how many of you know, the content on display in this part of the world is not the content on display in most part of the world. When you hit Asia like Japan, China, and those countries, what they show to the young on social media is development focus. What they show in your part of the world is breast, boobs, and bum bum. Straight up. See, what we call entertainment today is just a joke. I was having a conversation with a friend a few days ago. I'm like, gone are the days where the algorithm of social media projected to you things you had clicked. Now, whether you click it or not, the natural suggestion is damning. That's the kind of generation in which we live. Highly distracted. We're in trouble. So when we're talking about leadership, we're talking about leadership at societal level, at societal scale, for people who have not been able to lead themselves out of distraction. That's a problem. And please, I did not come here to impress you. That's the honest truth. I came here to make you take action. As a believer, for instance, I've had to tell myself, I have a certain number of chapters of the Bible I must read in the morning. And guess what? I've had to tell myself straight up, I'm not picking a call, not replying a message, if I leave my phone on do not disturb until I am done meeting my basic target. Because guess what? I came to a point, even as a minister, that I'm waking up, the first thing I'm checking is I'm already on social media. That's madness. Some other people may not tell you that much truth. I'm telling you, it's pure madness. It sleeps next to you. You wake up, you sleep on it, you wake up on it. So we live in a distracted generation. So we can't have the leadership conversation until we begin to have the conversation about personal leadership. So that's the first thing, I try to highlight there. And, the effective leader, all right, is the one who does not merely aim, all right, to what now? To control others, but the one who has found personal leadership and can pass, all right, on the ideals to others. So the ideals begins here. It starts with you. All right. Like I tell them this. I'm not trying to hit same and her people. But I told her she knows me. So I'm going to say this one. The hour has come to say it. We have clapped for her. Now let me flog her. I've been in the car for 1 hour. Because some people don't have personal leadership enough to attend a registered event on time. Or somebody was contracted to do setup who is coming late. That's madness. If they start storming my car, Reverend Jed, let me know. I'll go through the back door, start running to Abuja. That's madness. I came out of this city. Our hangouts and our sit-out events start 30 minutes before the advertised time. Go and check the records. Since 2015. We did 20, clap, it is good. We did 20 hosted or co-hosted events throughout 2023. Across Abuja, Makurdi, Lagos, Accra, Ghana, Houston, Texas, Maryland, US, Pretoria, South Africa. 20. We didn't start late. It's a choice. You know, when I hear African time, I'm appalled. Like, what are they talking about? So when we started that in 2015 in Abuja, I told my people, I must culture the people who respond to our events. So our events begin 30 minutes before the advertised time. Culture. Straight up. It's a decision. And I follow through on it. Oh, guess what? At the beginning, you know what happened? When people are coming 30, 40 minutes late into our event, I'm already teaching. I don't use praise and worship to waste time. Praise and worship is to actually praise and worship God in our meetings. We don't wait for who. Do you get what I mean? Now, you may not be Christian here, but my conviction is very clear based on the word of God, where 2 or 3 are gathered in the name. We do big events. We do events for thousands. We do events for hundreds. But let it commence with the 2 or 3. I shut my mind and do what I do. Do you get what I mean? So it's so important. It's so important to understand that it begins with personal leadership. And there are 3 key questions you must ask when it comes to the journey of attaining personal leadership. All right, number 1 is your why of existence. You know why a lot of people are demotivated today? They have not connected with their why. And the biggest thing you would do for your life is to actually uncover what your purpose is for being here. Why? We have too many people who are just walking the earth. Let me tell you the truth. I've sat in rooms with poor. I've sat in rooms with rich people. And when I mean rich, I'm talking about billionaires, like money. I've watched people who have money and don't even know what life is. So I've had to look at a lot of people and I just wonder, like, do they appreciate actually that life is deeper than the things that dominate them? There must be a why. I believe that we're here today because somebody found a why. All right? So to talk about leadership, you need to find, number 1, the why. All right? Number 2 is the when of the goal. Because the why will reveal a goal to you. The why will make you focus on something you want to do, or need to do, or have to do. What is the when? Like, you know, sitting with Reverend Jed in the car, we're looking at a few things, and one event we haven't fixed, and what happens? We pull out the system and open the system. Then look at the schedule. Because every year, my next year gets into motion being determined between October and December. Every year. By October, we already pulled out, you know, the sheets to see what the next year looks like. Every single year. Because when you understand the why, you begin to curate the when. Because things happen to time and seasons. And the reason why a lot of people have not been able to, you know, deploy their seasons is because they have not yet answered the first question, why? So right now we're still locked in conversations. We are going back to Accra. We are going back to Houston. We are going back to Maryland. We are going back to UK. We are going back to South Africa. Yes, yes, yes. And those conversations do not begin because phones are seated. Those conversations begin because I see a why. And when there's a why, there has to be a when. When to the goal. Just exactly when. You know, I always share this. I speak about this. All the years of doing events and traveling and being an itinerant minister, one of the things I know is that the capital I need is the why and the when, not your money. Money will follow. Some of the greatest people I know on earth did not start with funds. They started with why. Because why itself is capital. You know the reason why people turn back? I saw a story, an experiment actually, where a scientist put a rat in water. A couple of them, actually. In 15 minutes, they were almost dead. They almost made it to the 20-minute mark. Then he pulled them out and gave them hope. Guess what? He threw them back in. You won't guess how long they stayed. They stayed over 72 hours. What happened? The first experience he gave them made them believe salvation is coming. Their endurance was stretched. If you don't see the why, you will endure nothing. That's why people start things and fail. So January 2024, somebody starts a relationship and marriage page. By March, you go back there, it's for fashion. The purpose has changed. They could not stay through. Clients didn't come. People didn't come for counseling. I did a meeting, 7 persons showed up. That person is still a joke. They have not found something beyond convenience. I mean, these rats were in that water, 72 hours counting. They were still hoping that that person who saved us before the 20 minutes mark. So something straight on their inside. There existed a reason beyond them. Let me tell you the truth. Every time I come back to this city, I don't pretend about it. If you want to die cheap, die small, it is in Benue State you do it. You know, because, I mean, before I go and call anybody's name now, they say he has come with, I'm not PDP, I'm not APC, I'm not, Labour has now risen. Labour, I'm Nigerian. But you see, I don't know a state besides 2 states. The one I am from, Kogi, that has been led by the worst governor in the history of Nigeria, and Benue, where people think that leadership is political. And that's why you have crop of leaders that their entire wealth is built on getting into public office. They were broke people before they started stealing your money. Then people will gather in their houses in thousands. Because somebody stole your money, you want to go and beg for small out of it. And that's why those 2 states I mentioned, let me not go to other states in Nigeria. Don't worry for me, my road is very safe. I have things to do in Abuja, I'll go back safely. That's why I see people from those 2 states, they are constructive beggars. Technical beggars. They don't produce anything. They are just looking for where to go and collect something. It's always who remembered me, who didn't remember me, who helped me, who didn't help me, who entered position and didn't remember me, who, my father's mother's cousin who became this did not help us. What nonsense. I say, I know I'm live. I know I'm being recorded. I'm first child, first son of a multi-millionaire. I don't live off my father. I live on the merit. My father gives me a cup of drink, I'll thank him like he didn't owe me. Some of you know his name. So we have a generation that must slap that way. We have a generation that must wake up to leadership, personal leadership. To be able to curate their own future by, number 1, understanding the why. Number 2, understanding the when. And guess what? Besides divine leadership or intuition, you should curate the when. You should sit down and say, what am I doing with 2024? What am I doing with 2025? You know, I find that a lot of people live without a definite plan. Like life will just happen. And we have a generation that are waiting to blow. No, you grow. There are 2 different things. So there are things I'm not bothered about when it comes to process. That's the generation that will embrace process. So I'm going to do this next. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. So we have a generation who plans so little. Very, very little. Great things don't happen by chance. Great things happen by plan. All right? And that brings you to the 3rd point, which I'm already touching. Your how to the target. That's when I begin to see it. How do we get there? How do we structure things? How? A few days ago, a gentleman called me. I had spoken at a conference in Lagos, and he wanted to ask me a few questions based on the things I said at the conference. And he's, when he began to speak, I just saw mistakes. Because when you define the why and you put the when, you begin to define the how. And he's supposed to publish some books. He's done pre-order, and I'm like, okay. If I were you, I won't do everything you're doing because you are going through a long journey. I've printed the book several times, but guess what? I said, number 1, I didn't think that Nigerians would read, for instance, electronically, but that in itself was error. Because that thought limited me to Nigerians. It forced me to think about just a very little or a fraction of the world that should listen to me. I told him I can't remember when last I self-published or published and printed. And I told him, when you see my books right now, the ones I have in my possession is when I travel abroad, I order it through Amazon. So I have books I have never printed by myself, but when I travel, I get printed copies of them. I tell him, you know what? Here's the deal. I published and I traveled with books and I sold books across time. But I realized, you know what? Before I publish again, somebody's either investing in that sense, or I have resources I can tie down in that sense. I'm not doing it. I'm going to put it online. And you wonder, like, when somebody's wondering, like, what have I been waiting for? Why am I taking the longer? Because when you come to the how, you begin to realize that there are certain things that can be done differently. The problem of the world today, a lot of people are doing the exact same things that have kept others where they met them. Status quo. How begins to make you see beyond what has been done before you came. It's good to learn from precedent, but if all you learn from is precedent, then you just be repeating history, nothing new. And guess what? The world is not going backward, the world is not static, the world is moving. And that's why you can be a champion in your locality, but the moment you step out of your locality, everybody wonders, who is this archaic, ancient human? Do you get what I mean? So there are certain things, if we don't begin to ask these questions, we can't scale, we can't move, we can't lead. And guess what? The world you must lead today is a fast-paced world. That word is not waiting for the narrative you were told. That word is not waiting for the things that we are used to. So it must begin. See, let me say this with every sense of it. We're still in introduction, really. Let me say this with, don't worry. I'm looking at my own time. Let me say this with every sense of responsibility. The people who cause the most distraction today are not distracted. So there are two kinds of people on earth today. The ones causing the distraction with what they have found to be their why, and those drinking their distraction to amount to nothing. You think skit makers just sit online watching skit? Hey, they are writing scripts, they are on location, they are shooting, they are editing, they are putting out, they are strategizing how to get your attention. Like that good old saying, are you marrying a man with television or a man with vision? So when I was going to bed at 2 a.m. yesterday, I was going to bed fulfilled. Why? Two things. The first slide post I needed to put out today, I needed to have them set. The next video post I'll put out when I leave this place, I needed to have it set. So that, because it's been a while I did this, just drive solo. I didn't want to call back my guys from vacation and they're coming back this weekend. I just told them I actually want to have this drive solo to Makurdi and all. But I'm going to be driving. So guess what? I sat up. I woke up this morning to finish this slide. That's as horrible as it is. Do you get what I mean? And let me throw this warning in. You see this whole AI. People are just joking. I've generated many things by AI. It's not as intelligent as my brain. Because we have a generation now, there's no shortcut to using what God gave you. So the people giving us distraction are not distracted. I'm telling you. So at the point I challenge my wife, I say, what are we on social media? Those who provide content or those who just suck content? I say I don't want to be one that sucks it. Yeah, there are people I follow. That's why I don't even do follow for follow. It's not by force. If you don't want to follow me because I didn't follow you back, safe journey. It's not community meeting. I have selected following. I follow because there's something I must drink from those. But you see, largely what I do, I come to give you content. But I'm not as wicked as those who just come to waste your time. I give content so that people can rise up. Because as I will say soon, all right, the greatest strength of leaders is actually raising leaders, not followers. Followers are the most burdensome people to keep. Very tiring. I don't keep people around me that I'm telling everything to do. So I raise people who are not as distracted as the world. All right? Yeah, we can have foot soldiers. But the best people to raise are leaders. For instance, this Saturday we're having our Men Only Getaway. We did 3 editions last year. Men Only Getaway is happening because the leader in charge insisted we are going to have it. And part of why he insisted is he looked back at 2023 and said, the men had the best year because we were able to sit early in the year, that particular edition at the beginning of the year, and define certain things and depressurize in certain areas. I didn't believe him. Publicity started only last week. Now we are maxing out for the venue we have to use. And we either stop it, even in the car, people are sending, they want to sign up. But it's either we stop or we now start considering using a different place. We only started talking about it last week. But somebody, I'm just going to walk in. These guys are doing their thing. These guys are doing their thing. Why? This person has gone beyond being distracted and being the supplier of focus. All right, so personal leadership, well, let's skip beyond introduction. We have tried. All right. I'm going to skip all of this. She can give you the slides. Skip essence of leadership, all the things I've been saying. Okay, now my enemies are trying to overcome me. All right. Do you have it on your phone? The one I sent to you. Please open, let's see. I don't know. The display on this phone is horrible. So that I can keep that here and guide myself. Number one is be yourself. That's the first thing. Try to open it and see if it displays well. All right. That's the first thing you must look at. Because we live in a world of people who are just imitators. Hey, I've had some people, for all I do, come to me. You can do like this. You can do like that. Now I give you another Christian, in case you're not, just understand with me. Example. I used to follow and listen to Reinhard Bonnke a lot. But in this town, I remember when Reinhard Bonnke came and we trekked to industrial layout. It was really cool to. Thank you. Okay, same problem. It's iPhone problem. It's true. All right. So, no, go back to one now. 1 and 2. Thank you. No, don't worry. This will, okay. So he explained something at the point where people told him he could, it's very fiery when he preaches, like he's scattered, he will just be fire. They told him to be cooler. So he said for some messages he went for, he would just be taking it cool. After some time, I just realized that, this is not me. It's not working. See, sometimes I heard Miles Murray say something that I love, and I had to use it on my children. Because we look at their grades. We look at their average scores and not the grades. Because sometimes the grades are, the kind of school they attend, you can actually have an A average and still be 15 over 20 in class. And I was listening to Miles Murray, and it's like, look, the grading system is one of the worst things that happen to children going to school. Because what you do is term to term, you are pitching them against somebody else. And not just against somebody else who has a better grade in class, as it were, based on grading system, you are pitching them against somebody's thought of what the test should be. We have a very wicked educational system here. Very terrible. It doesn't really test whether you have understood. It just tries to fail you. I schooled in ABU's area. They cannot withdraw my certificate, so I can tell you. Very wicked, mean lecturers who have missed their calling in life. They want to fail people's children. The easiest education I've had was when I went to do my master in oil and gas law, University of Aberdeen, Scotland. I've never school so easy. 2 lectures a week, 2 hours each, 4 hours lecture for the whole week. They expect you to use the other time to go and do research. And guess what? My brother, we came for revision before exam. They did revision with 8 questions. 6 came out verbatim. And the exam is 7. Answer any 4. No compulsory question. Six came out verbatim of the 8 they used for revision. They did those revision like kindergarten. Masters, oil and gas law, Scotland. Go to this. Your enemy will be lecturing you. Somebody whose purpose in life is to fail you. Or make it difficult for you to be happy. Do you get what I'm saying? So, don't allow, be you. The best leaders are authentic leaders. Be authentic. Be who God made you. There's a quality you bring. So you see people, especially when they hear things like this or listen to some other people. See, one of the evil I see around are people trying to be others. Hi, so bad. They can't lead nothing. Because what they realize is that they find themselves being, imitators of something. No. All right? So I'm going, before my system comes, sorry, I'm going off the camera. All right? Because I want to read this one. All right? There should be no gap between who you are and the person as a person, all right, and who those who you lead come to know. See, one of the reasons it's actually easy for any leader who actually leads to lead is that they are not trying, all right, they are not trying to do leadership, they are being them. For instance, personally, I run my practice as a family. Any other way to not work. I can discipline a staff without abusing them. Because one of the commonest things I see in law practice is seniors abuse juniors. Mentally, verbally, I hate it. I hate it. I run a firm with brothers and sons. In fact, my head of litigation, I told him the reason he has not married is because I have not gathered the money to do his wedding. It's my son. He's been with me from when he came to law school attachment, then he went to serve, then came back. And I told him, you will be with me till he's a son. Because it will be our practice. It's not what I'm afraid to say. So it's important to deploy you. I've seen all manner of things in practice. I've worked with senior lawyers, still doing teams, this and that. And some people's who they choose to be or the style they choose to bring is what I cannot live with. So I can't bring it on. I bring me on. All right? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Leader, where Sabi? All right? So it's important to be able to bring you. All right? So now that I have this, I'll throw on some light on some sentences more than I did earlier. All right? So in essence, effective leadership is authentic leadership. That's the point. Be authentic. And one of the things you realize is that you deliver yourself of trying to impress. I heard something that changed it for me or made it easy for me because that's what I believe. Just be authentic enough and you'll be impressive enough. But people who try to impress, you know what happens? They are trying to play based on you, not them. See, the truth is, whether you like my keynote speech or address or you don't like it, if I come here and I'm true to what I should do in terms of who I am, I have delivered. Because you know some people, you cannot even solve their problem. If you go this way, they'll complain. If you go that way, they'll complain. So just, so that you not live in confusion, just be you. Number two, realize that it's not about you and that it is beyond you. Now this looks like contradiction. No, the first one doesn't make it about you, it makes it about being authentic. But this is, leadership comes to the point where it is goal-driven. There's a goal. All right? So leadership is anything but self-promotion. There's a goal. Like when I talked about the kind of practice I run right now, don't forget the three things we said at the beginning: why, when, and how. All right? It is the why that is the central focus. So my authentic self is also lining up to attain that why and that goal. So at this point, and this is why you have leadership failure at every level. Do you know why husbands are getting abusive? They don't even know what leadership is. They think it's about them. What does it mean? Lead this family to promised land. What is promised land? The woman is happy. The children are well trained. Family is at peace. Somebody thinks he's a leader. No, he's in the bosque. When he just show everywhere is scattered. You know why your staff are stealing from you? You are mean. They can't share their problem with you. There's no milk or kindness that will come out of you. Because if if it's not you, it's not going to happen. So I refuse to pay my people in December. What I did was send them Merry Christmas. Because I paid them in December. In January, they'll be broke. So it's end of December that I chose to pay them. I send them forth with Merry Christmas that can actually do Christmas. Because they said, it's not me. Last. What's the goal? The goal here is I want people returning with joy. I want people returning not demotivated. I don't want SOS by next week Monday. So I actually can't make it to that. Do you understand what I mean? It's not not self-promotion. So the leader must begin to see that. Take it away from you. Take it away from you. There's a goal bigger than this. There's something we are pursuing with the strategy. Right? So when you look at that, you now realize that, in fact, let me just quote Andrew Carnegie, no man will make a great leader who wants to do it all by all himself or get all the credit for doing it. It's not. Leave that. Go into the strategies that bring you to the point where you realize, it's not me focused. It's not about, hey. No. Set up systems that activate everyone to attain the goal. You know why people do those things? They want to say, I did. Just like I spoke about this men only thing now. No. The responsibility I owe them was to cast a vision they can run with. Then they begin to deploy them. But I would say, in fact, when I call that meeting, that's nonsense. In fact, again, I'm a minister, so you get a lot of Christian examples just in case you're not, but I invite you to be. I was teaching somewhere in Lagos and I was sharing testimonies. Then I said, so-and-so testimony, I heard it from so-and-so ministry. It didn't happen in our ministry. When we finished, this gentleman came with one of our friends. And he was like, some pastors talk like that too. Like they'll just, if it's not something that happened in their own life, in their own ministry, that the way I was even freely saying it, I was shocked, like amused, like, what was my goal? The people here needs to have their faith activated. Am I Jesus Christ? I'm just a privileged one to also speak about these things. So if I hear a genuine story, why won't I talk about it? Why won't I reference the person who did? It's madness. Everything has not happened in my own life. But those things that have not happened in my life are also real. Do you get what I mean? So it's so easy. And that's why, even for counseling and coaching, I send people to people. Like I'm here speaking right now, I can't answer a phone. I can't do it all. So, so the idea of leadership, and that's why a lot of organizations have stalled, because certain decisions cannot be taken until a particular person is alive and awake. No, God forbid. It can't work that way. I would have died if I tried that. We have multiple forums, premarital class, we have coordinators for that. We have this. I mean, I was making some call in the car, like, somebody needs to see us. I just told you what next tomorrow, and there's so much. And how do you deploy that so much? You don't centralize everything here. You activate the systems. You make sure. All right. Number 3, be human and vulnerable. This is where other people miss it when it comes to leadership. You don't have all the answers. You don't. The day you pretend to have all the answers, you're actually insecure. And your leadership is going down. We like this security of thinking we are all alpha and omega. You're not. You are mere mortal. You slept last night. If you didn't sleep last night, that's why you're sleepy here. That's how human you are. All right. So realize that the best way to get it, for instance, I'll give you an example. One of the things I don't like to do right now is to do base research. That's why I have juniors. That's why I pay them. Get me authority on so and so. Get me authority on so and so. Get me authority on so and so. I have the experience. In fact, I was doing a particular work and an authority was cited. I have the experience to know that there's something questionable about this authority you're citing. So I called the attention of the juniors who did the research. And we sat back on it. And I realized that the truth of the authority he was citing was against our position. So what did he do? He didn't do a thorough research. He picked the statement of the judgment and quoted it. But based on experience, I could look and say there's a problem. Why? Even though I don't do base research, like go in and try to look for everything, when you bring it, I must investigate what it truly said to see what's the context of this decision. I rather do that. So when I say I don't do base research, that does not mean anything my junior throws at me. That means I'm operating at his level. Do you get what I mean? But be vulnerable enough to say, can you do this for me? Like I was in a quick meeting a few days ago, Meeting was convened by my dad quickly. We are doing a particular job together. There are about 12 senior advocates on that job. And he made some statements of direction because he's not the most senior on that team. He made some statement of direction like, I'm thinking we should do this, 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 this. Then the most senior who's leading the team, now said, it sounded simple, but it caught my attention. He said, my brain is not as sharp as yours right now. That thing you just said, I have no question for you. Go ahead. I'm like, wow, that's something. Now, this is a top man in this country. Like, if he's on your team, just know it's a big deal. He's a father. He would lead the team. He will bring in what you cannot see. But there are things he has said you can see. And that's why sometimes one of the things, on the commonest statement I receive from my dad, and meanwhile, I served in my dad's office in this town, worked with my dad until 2017. Some people ask me, like, if I want to advocate to my dad at the point, like, how, blah, blah, this one, children don't do well, their fathers, personal leadership that I talked about earlier. When I step in that office, I'm not stepping as a child. I'm stepping to do my work. My reputation is at stake. As you say, that's madness. That person is sick. Who would think like that? All right? So, be vulnerable enough. One of the commonest statements I get from him anytime we've got to do anything together is use your eagle eye and find what we must do. I'm not proud of that. He's still my oga at the top, boss. I still am awed at his dedication and depth with law practice. So, telling me to use eagle eye does not mean this man, I don't pass out. That's nonsense. But that vulnerability of a leader brings the best out of your people. You know why some people are not contributing anything? You have told them that their brain has nothing to offer your organization. So they wait for you to dictate, then they do it grudgingly. One of the best ways to get the best out of people is to allow them to be personally invested. See, I'm counting on you. As I speak, I have teams working. I'm telling you. Right there, I've received one of the assignments. I've told them I'm getting back later. I'm going to look at it in the night. I don't think, what time did they even leave the office yesterday? I had some people who barely did not have holiday because we have some targets to meet. You go on, sit up, man. If I sit up late, you sit up late too. But I'm telling you, I'm counting on you. Be vulnerable enough to let people know you are counting on them. You can't expand leaders. And guess what? So many people are so gifted that if you don't unleash them, they will outgrow you. And if they don't outgrow you, they will become frustrated because you are not letting them manifest. So how do I keep loyal, strong people? By letting them find their place, by not being afraid to be vulnerable. Then you realize that they're able to find their place while still deferring to you. No man, except he is personally influenced by Satan, will look back and dishonor a system that supported them to be all they could be. And you cannot do that until you show that you are human enough to be vulnerable around people. Let people fly. And somebody may ask, what if they leave? That's fine. I would like to have extensions of me all around the world. People who left, but we didn't fight. So I'm very open. I've had staff leave me several times. But my joy is that they still call me boss. That's the most important thing. You want to leave, you have to go. The only thing I will do is to sit and guide you. Okay, this thing you want to do. Have you thought about 1, 2, 3? So if anybody wants to leave, they can leave. So being vulnerable does not mean, see, again, don't forget the other point, because this is not about you. Mother Teresa said, I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together we can do great things. Just like my wife, she has a womb, I don't. I have the seed, she doesn't. And together, 3 lovely children. That's what it is. When I carried my seed, I have the seed. Mumu, it will not produce anything. Number 4, I have 9 points. Why am I this slow? Have an open mind, but stand for something. Because this is what follows being vulnerable, amenable, accepting conversations. It's not every idea you throw I swallow. But guess what? I will let you know your ideas are welcome. But whether we take them or not will be an issue of weighing beyond our emotions. So you can bring your wonderful ideas. And guess what? How you let go of idea matters whether your people will stay motivated to grow. You know, one of the things I hate about a lot of leadership systems I have seen is that people talk down on people. It's okay to disagree with total honor. It's okay to let people who bring stuff up know that, well, this is a great idea, but we may not be able to do it now. Or this is a great idea, but why don't we think of it from this angle? It's okay to have nuanced views. Very okay. Right? Don't shut people down. And I'm not here to teach on parenting, and I don't want to be distracted into it. That's how people have killed their children. When you speak to a lot of adults who are dealing with low self-esteem, their parents caused it. Like our children are at the stage now where they have a lot of questions. David is 12, 13 in September. Arela is 10, 11 in March. Hamina is 8, 9 in February. May I answer like 1,000 questions in 2 hours. Curious, very curious. We're currently going through the Chosen series. If you have not seen it, I'm an advocate of it. Go see it. Very lovely series. When I get back now, we start season 3. Season 4 is out in February. Very great series. I don't know whether we're watching movie or answering questions. We pause sometimes and answer. We pause and curiosity is coming out. Thoughts are coming out. Ideas are coming out. That I think we can do this. That I think we can do that. That I think we can do this. That I think we can do that. Oh, wonderful. Oh, why don't you see it this way? I mean, this Ariel has told me something that I wonder, like, who told you that? Where did you get that from? Amazing. Really? How did you think about that? And that's why we have the crisis we have at teenage. When parents spend their whole life shutting down children, then children come to that age where opinion is stronger. And guess what? They turn out parents and wonder, like, you don't even have sense. Many of us seated here felt that way when we became teenagers. Just look at your father and mother, all this gra-gra, you don't even know anything. And I can assure you, you better make them friends before they discard you that way. Because even that phone in your hand, your child knows how to operate it better than you. So have an open mind. So our last baby, highly creative. I can't tell you how many times we just come to the house. She has controlled the other two who are seniors to her to off the lights, put blinking lights, put 2 wine glasses and a wine, put duvet as special working part for me and the mother. I don't know where she's carrying romantic ideas for me because I'm teaching relationship and marriage. She will control the others, then we'll come in. Daddy and mommy. Then they'll throw petals for us to work on. So she's always coming up with stuff. Can we go walk the dog? Can we go to the garden and do picnic? Can we? Yeah. The balance to that is at her level, I can't do everything that she asks us to do. Bless you. Because we are not just here. Take water. We're not just here to just be having fun. Or, like, I'm going out. Daddy, where are you going to again? Where are you going to again? And I had to tell them, an ever-present daddy is a broke daddy. A sometimes absent daddy is a rich daddy. So I'm open to ideas. Oh, daddy, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you. Can I go with you? You're not going with me. There's a point. There's a goal. So one time I turned to her like, do you realize you go to school every day and I don't hold you? Don't go. Don't go. Because you're saying to me, Daddy, you're always going to work, even in the night. I say, you are always going to school because Monday to Friday of a 7-day week is actually a lot. The fraction is much, 5/7. But you don't see it because at that point, the goal of going to school is stronger than the emotion of staying with Daddy. You know what I mean? So be open, but stand for something. So the ideas can flow, but the ideas must be pegged against the goal. What's the goal? Right? Simon Sinek, one of the best paradoxes of leadership is a leader's need to be both stubborn and open-minded. A leader must insist on sticking to the vision and stay on course to the destination. But he must be open-minded during the process. Why? The process will lead to the same vision. I'm going to run through the rest now. Thank you. Number 5, keep your communication hot. That's honest, open, and two-way. Keep it hot. Honest is for H, open is for O, and T is for two-way. Because we have leaders backing commands and telling people what to do and not letting people actually, bring in their best, and that's a problem. Okay? So, healthy communication. Healthy communication is actually the bloodline of any group. So keep it hot. All right? Nitin Noria says communication is the real work of leadership. Communication. Why? Communication itself is what makes for clarity to those who have to execute the vision. So one of the things you must do is to spend time communicating. In fact, through this holiday, that's one of the things we had to do. So we have met with different teams, and this Sunday we conclude with our central team in Abuja. Because our first event for the year is next week, Friday. Of course, we've been communicating electronically, but we're having those physical meetings. So part of what we did with holiday, because, okay, now schedules are down for everybody. We're able to curate times and sit down, all right? Even when we did like the end of year dinner and appreciation for our workers, that's also communication something. It's communicating thank you. It's communicating we appreciate this. We love what you did. We love how much you brought on. So I'm able to, bring in new ideas, because guess what? If you don't communicate appreciation, you should never communicate correction. If your appreciation is not more than your correction, you are demotivating your people. All right? So it's important to keep it honest, open, and two-way. What's the two-way part of it? Get feedback. One of the things bad leaders are afraid of is feedback. Very, very afraid of it. Why? They have perfection complex. Perfectionist complex. Alpha and Omega complex. That's terrible. Allow two-way communication. People have things to tell you. Let them tell you. Like we said earlier, it's not everything you swallow, but let them say it. They're listening. Let them have a voice. All right, number 6, invest in yourself. Albert Einstein said, I have no special talent. I'm only passionately curious. Passionately curious. If you have a lot of questions, you find answers. Leadership dies when the leader no longer has need to learn. So, one of the things I have to resist year in, year out is as God helps us to do great things and people are, hey, my God, wow. Woo. Compliment is where some people bury themselves. They start feeling like the biggest thing in town. Because when somebody has conquered Makurdi, he forgets there's Nigeria. Somebody has conquered Nigeria, he forgets there's the whole world. This is what begs the question, and I've asked this question several times. I know an excuse people give. I've given it before, but I've stopped giving that excuse. Why are a lot of things easily global when it comes from the West, but normally local when it comes from here? What's the common excuse we have given? Platform. They are setting platform globally. It comes from that side. Excuse. Why have we not built any platform? Why have we not curated anything that can transcend us? Why? Are we curious enough? Especially coming from this part of the world where we are more into survival than curiosity. People just want to survive. People just want to have the next meal. Want to make sure their children go to school. That's why the commonest boast of an African parent is, I trained you. I paid your school fees. Well done, sir. All right? How much curiosity drives us? How much more do we want to do? Or how comfortable are we where we are? Great leaders are made of serious curiosity. Questions that lead to answers. Questions that lead to answers. We were on a platform before they closed down recently, Okada Books. My God. Somebody provided a solution and made money. Real money. We made money too. Currently on Seller. I love their interface so well, so good. But somebody's providing solution. Why is the person providing solution? The person is asking questions. I'm going to ask a leadership question. I'm sure these are the kind of things you have heard again and again in Benue. There's a lot of waste in this city or in this state, and it's curiosity that will answer it. I was speaking to one of our clients, and they had an opening to export some goods, and they realized how much waste was going on. So farmers are farming to make certain kind of losses because certain questions are not being asked. I think I saw something about agriculture and good. One of our guys is a regular guy in the men only program I was talking about. He's a farmer, very large scale. He's made losses in solid millions. Processes that taught him hard lessons. I mean, in one farming season, I think he lost over 70 million at that time. Stuff that can shoot some people down. Then he said something. He said two things. Number one, he said, no matter how poor a harvest is, it can never be as poor as the seed. I said, number one, that's it. Then number two, he realized, then he was learning, so he was sharing his lessons with us where he started. He said he realized that the entire farming season is not as important as harvest. Because that particular season, it was actually the harvest they lost. He said it was, what did they farm now? I think rice. It was a timed harvest. They farmed so much, he didn't realize how much hands he needed to harvest. He said he was jumping around this country, offering anything to gather harvesters. The farm was wasting in front of him. They couldn't get enough. And those they got, because of the tension in the air, were harvesting for themselves more than for his company. And why did I understand him? Because he was explaining that every farm has gleaners. It's a form of corporate social responsibility. When they harvest, the gleaners are those behind who are taking from whatever is left. He farms at the scale that gleaners get hundreds of bags behind them. And he learned a big lesson. Huge one. And what was the lesson? I needed to know more. I needed to start asking questions. When I get to that point, how do I maximize the harvest? A lot of self-investment now went in. Because some things we complain about is not complaint that is the answer, it's curiosity to find a way. Number 7, 2 more to go after this. Love your craft, but love your people more. Love your craft. You know, I've been talking a lot about the keeping the goal, focus on the goal, and all of that. See, let me read a few things here. Acknowledge twice as much as you request. Don't forget when I said if you don't commend, you should not correct. Nobody on your team is so useless there's nothing to thank them for. If they are so useless there's nothing to thank them for, then you are the one that has a problem, because what's that person doing on your team? Love your craft, but love your people more. People will give their life if they feel appreciated. That's why people are using their boss's internet to look for the other job. So people go through life waiting to be recognized. Do you know how much recognition is pushing us in this world? Why do you think your politicians will go and buy title and still do reception to celebrate what they bought? People want recognition. I told you, may I say the truth too. Please, don't be angry. Because I don't know how they do it in this country. They are setting DR if I wanted in my name since I know where to buy. But how can I proudly bear what I bought? Sure, they have closed the door to go into Cotonou to go and bring certificate now. That's how much people want. So recognize people genuinely. Sit people down and let them know what they are doing. I took my son to a friend of mine. He's a pastor, he's an architect, a successful one, highly successful one. And he said something. He was not patronizing. And he made me wake up to do more with commending my son. My son is very interested in architecture. He's been drawing for like 3 years. He's 12, I said. And he said to him, he always is curious to get his drawings to him. He said to him that some 100-level architecture students cannot draw the things my son is drawing. So we went to Dubai for vacation in 2022. My son just declared to us that this is where he must do university. That's what he is seeing. What's my responsibility now? I must turn to him. Because the reason why a lot of people are not where they should be is because their parents force them to go and get grades and not commend their strengths. And that's why we're all on Facebook. I don't know where he graduated in the Facebook studies. Something inspired his strength. Something recognized his strength. Something acknowledged. I will never forget the interview on CNN where Mark Zuckerberg was hoping to meet a target of 100,000 persons on Facebook. It was an unknown concept. Recognition came to it. Benue alone on Facebook is in millions. The boy starts in America wanting to get to 100,000. It's amazing what people become when you acknowledge strengths that they have. So I buy a ream of paper. The boy is dealing with me. He will just pack one chunk. He does both artistic drawing and architectural drawing. So when he was in JSS 1, he already had a friend in the physics teacher. And they'll be discussing physics, okay? And I'll just, of course, my brain is very empty in that department. Okay, I'll just let him be talking. Wow, really? The day I knew I had problem in my house, his two sisters consider him smart and a genius. I'm like, please come. But I need to acknowledge. Because they seem to bring every question to him and he has answers, including the one that is bobo. So as the father say, oh boy, calm down. But guess what? Acknowledge. Some people sit there in this room, you are acknowledgement away from being great. Because you are still dealing with all the negative voices that told you nonsense from long ago. Nonsense. I know that thing. I was in Anglican secondary school here. Yes, there's 1, 2, 3. I had some nonsense in my life that I had to discard. But what do you do to the people around you? Inspire them, love them more. Love the craft, but love the people more. I turn to them. Nobody around you is useless. Let them come up with the value that they are there for. All right? This possesses a far greater impact done one-on-one. I'm telling you. Learn to call your people aside privately. This is not for show. This is talking to you. This is who you are. This is how strong. This is what you bring to the table that we are happy for. We are glad for this you're doing. All right? Maya Angelou says, I have learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So the leader is the one that inspires that positive feeling in his people. 2 more, honor your word. I won't say too much about this. A lot of leaders don't have personal integrity in what they say. And it's a problem. Honor your word, including what you promise to do for them. 2 funny things happen during recruitment. Those seeking to be employees promise what they can never deliver. Those seeking to employ make it look like it's a bed of roses. Then they both enter and get real. The thorns come out and the promises fade. Problem. But as a leader, see, for instance, personally, I don't offer anybody to work with me on terms that I can't keep conveniently. Even in COVID, I kept my commitment. And I kept caring for my people. And I will do it even if I have to go and borrow to do it. If the business cannot do it. So I won't bring you in on terms that I cannot sustain. I will not bring you in with such clarity so that you know that what I promise I will do. And if you cannot accept it at that level, go. But if you come on that team, the only other thing I promise, just in case the package doesn't look as good, is that I promise you a father, a brother, a friend. And you go and see. And when I mention those words, I have to keep it. Because let me tell you the truth. If somebody is working for you only because they have not gotten something else, you don't really have them. They will sell you if the opportunity comes. I'm not saying this to boast. I'm just giving personal examples. Why should I teach a thing I cannot throw on at least some examples? I've had people with me who have made massive offers and told me straight up they can't live. In essence, I've been able to bring to the point where I kept my word to the point where your future is secure around me. I met people also who have had to leave, but through my mentorship, who have to run it by me. Then we'll have conversation. Then I tell you, man, you got to go. That's next level. That's next step. Do X, Y, Z, and move. All is fine. Just maintain your word. Authenticity is the alignment of head, mouth, and heart, and feet. Thinking, saying, feeling, and doing the same thing consistently. Last secret. Alignment of head, mouth, heart, feet. Thinking, saying, feeling, doing, same thing consistently. You won't be a proper leader if people can't trust you. Let your people trust you. Let them know your commitment is your commitment. Final one, create more leaders. The most effective leaders create more leaders. Don't just look for yes men. Allow politicians to do that. Create leaders. Final quote. The growth and development of people is the highest calling of leadership. Harvey Firestone. Because you are not just creating people who would support the vision you have shared, you're creating people who will stretch and go and be examples of the things you have taught. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you.